Okay, so this guy's really judgmental with his look. So we are into fish already. So what we know about fish, they are in domain Eukarya. So that means they have a nucleus. They are in kingdom Animalia. So that means they share a couple things. They're multicellular, they're heterotrophic, they have a nucleus, and we are specifically in phylum Chordata, so that means they have a backbone, otherwise known as a vertebrate. Okay? And our specific type of chordate we're talking about today are fish. Delicious, delicious food item. Sorry, fishy. So, fish obviously live in water, and because of this, they need fins in order to move around. So these fins are an adaptation. It allows them to balance. It allows them to cut through the water super quickly and easily. They have all sorts of different sizes and shapes of fins in order to help move based on where they live. They are ectothermic. So I know yesterday, you learned that ectothermic means cold-blooded, because of that C right here. Cold-blooded. So what that means is their body temperature changes. So if they swim to Hawaii, where it is very warm and luxurious and there's pineapples everywhere, if it's very warm, their body temperature is going to be warm. Now if this fish decides, Hawaii's just not for me, I'm more of a cold kind of temperature fish, so then they decide to swim down to the penguins and visit in Antarctica, their body temperature will change with it because they're cold-blooded. So now their body temperature is very cold. So these guys don't waste any energy controlling how hot or cold their body is. But this could be bad. If they swim in too cold water, they might freeze to death because they don't shiver like we do if they get cold. They do have scales and gills. If you've ever seen or eaten a fish, you know that scales are on the outside of their body. It's a little bit of a protection layer. And then gills, we do not have them. This allows fish to breathe underwater. It allows them to extract the oxygen right out of the water. We totally can't do that, so don't try that. They are the largest group of vertebrates, which means there are more fish out there than there are any other group of vertebrates. So there's more fish than there are amphibians, reptiles, birds, or mammals. It's very easy to live in the water when you think about it. You don't have to worry about a suntan. I mean, as a pale-skinned person, that's a win in my book. So there's food everywhere, Obviously, you have as much water as you possibly want to drink. You don't have to worry about wiping your butt because you're in the water. Hello? Okay? All kinds of benefits to living in the water. It's very easy to live there. So there are more fish than there are any other type of chordates. They do reproduce sexually. So here's Nemo. So Nemo's parents, Marlin and Pearl, they did sort of have sex. Not really though, because it says externally. So what that means is on the outside. So if you've seen Finding Nemo, think of that little cave where Nemo and all of his eggs, his brother and sister eggs were. So how this worked is Pearl, Nemo's mom, swam into that cave and laid down all 100 of those eggs. Just laid them out. Just said, here's all my eggs. And then Marlin, Nemo's dad, swam into that cave and put a little bit of sperm on every single one of those eggs. And that's how they, air quotes, have sex. There's no kissing still. They are reproducing sexually. But what I want you to remember is that sexually involves two parents. It doesn't always mean they're actually having sex like you might be thinking of it in your head. But Pearl and Marlin, they did combine their egg and their sperm together to make Nemo here. So there are three groups that we need to know about. Jawless, obviously, by the name, you can infer that they do not have jaws. So these guys are pretty basic. They don't have jaws. So they're going to scrape, suck, and stab their food. So kind of think of it like a suction cup. They're going to go up to a bigger fish or something that they're eating. They're going to, just like a leech. We learned about leeches not too long ago. And they're going to suck the blood out of it, or maybe they're going to suck some of the muscle tissue, or maybe they only eat the skin. There's a couple different types of organisms out there. I actually have a cool picture of one. And you can see how nasty these guys are with their mouth right here. Okay, so I would not personally want to be bit by either of these. Looks totally nasty. But what we need to know here is that their skeleton is made of cartilage. And we're going to talk about cartilage a little bit more on the next slide. So I'm going to kind of leave it open for right now. It is a tissue that is more flexible than bone. But like I said, we're going to talk about it on the next slide here. So jawless fish obviously do not have jaws. And they look really, really creepy. The next group is cartilaginous fish. So that's why I said let's pause on that word cartilage for just a second. So these guys do have a jaw, they have scales, and their skeleton is made completely of cartilage. So I need you to put your pencil down right now. Is that down? Okay. Put your hand on your ear, on the top part. Now I need you to bend your ear. You see how it bends? Do you feel it bending in half? All right. Now I need you to take your right hand and put it in the middle of your right or your left forearm. Now bend that for me. It's not going to work, okay? Cartilage is very soft. You have it in both of your ears. That's why you're allowed to bend your ear. You also have it in the tip of your nose. So wiggle the tip of your nose for me. If you push right in the middle, you can kind of feel how it's a little hard. It's harder than skin, but it's not as hard as bone. That's why you can kind of wiggle the tip of your nose around. Okay. You have cartilage a couple other places in your body. You have it in between your joints. This kind of helps you move. But the most prominent or obvious places is your ear and your nose. So these guys have cartilage all throughout their body. This is super good for sharks. So a shark is an apex predator. This means they're the top of the food chain. They need to be able to move very, very quick. So if their body is made of this flexible material, it can be going straight left very quickly. It can make that hard left turn because its body is so flexible. It can just wiggle and squirm wherever it wants to. So sharks are your major example in this category. And our last category of fish is going to be called bony fish. And we can kind of infer that these guys are going to have bones. So here it is. They have a jaw, they have scales, they have a head that has gills, and their skeleton is made of hard bone. So Dory is a bony fish. Nemo, also a bony fish. Most of the fish that you might eat, haddock, bass, flounder. I don't know if people eat catfish or not, I think. I'm thinking of another one. Salmon. I love salmon. All of these are bony fish. So if you've ever eaten a piece of fresh fish, you might have gotten a bone in your mouth. I know my dad one time, he got 2 bones in his mouth after he told my brother and I, hey, be careful. So bony fish have hard bones just like you have in your body all over the place. Okay, so your 3 groups of fish are jawless, cartilaginous, and bony. Okay, it's pretty easy. You can see those back on the back wall and kind of make sure you understand what's going on there. Remember that these guys are ectothermic. That means they are cold-blooded. If you come up to Miss Riddle right now and say the word potato, I will give you something, and I don't know what that something is yet. So if you're still listening, ding ding. Please look on Google Classroom or the front board and figure out what you need to do next.